Hey there, so today we have another beer talk, and this is a beer book review. So this is The Brewmaster's Table by Garrett Oliver of Brooklyn Brewery. Garrett is one of those first name people. You sort of say Garrett in craft beer and they know it's Brooklyn Brewery's Garrett Oliver. So this is the food and beer pairing Bible. There is no beer that is more influential to food and beer pairing than this book, and it was essential for me in learning for Certified Cicerone. The highest section that I scored in by far was the food and beer pairing section, and even though it's like 5 to 10% of the test, it was, thanks to this book and thanks to Garrett Oliver, obviously. So what's this book like? So in general, interesting thing, it's actually a third of it, I would say. It's actually about breweries and beers. It tells you about beer styles, it tells you about the history of styles, it goes through the classic breweries throughout the world, and it obviously generally covers the countries we know: Belgium, England, Germany, and America. It tells you the history of these breweries, which is very important because, next time you go to the shelf and reach for a classic beer, you can read a little bit more about the history of the brewery and the beers that they produce. Along with that, it goes through styles based on countries. It has pictures here and there. Not too many pictures. They're actually just in the middle section of the book, but got some pictures, so at least you have that. But first off, the tone that is written, it's completely different from a textbook. It's written in the narrative as if you were speaking to Garrett Oliver, which is fun. It's a little bit more casual. You hear his voice in this book. So I just thought I'd give you an example right here now about what the book is like. So I have one of his beers, the Brooklyn East India IPA, or East IPA. And so one of the most important things about this book is that he teaches you wonderful adjectives. He calls this book pale amber beer with a fruity, earthy lemongrass aroma. He goes on to say snappy bitterness strikes first on the flinty, dry palate, and then biscuity, juicy malts flood into the center, developing some orangey fruit. The malts hold the hops at bay until the minerally finish, when the beer signs off with a quick citrusy snap. I wish I could write beer that well. I wish I could talk about beer in that beautiful sense that he uses, but wonderful adjectives in here. And if you want to talk about beer better and learn more about beer, it's highly important that you learn some of the vocabulary that he has in here. But then he also talks about the pairing. So what does he talk about there? He talks about it from a personal sense. One of his favorite restaurants, which is, big favorite, Penang in New York. He recommends this with duck in red coconut curry sauce. And he also recommends this with a bright, fresh pad thai and a pungently spicy chicken in Thai holy basil. He also recommends this with some aged cheddars, and he gives you examples. And then he talks about flavor so well in this and offers all these beautiful complementary pairings between beer and food. So if you like food, I assume a lot of you guys do. We geek out about beer, but we also geek out about food. Check this book out, because you will go to the shelf and find some classic beers that you probably haven't had recently, and you will find some pairings through this book, and make some recipes, or go to a restaurant, or just do something where you involve the exploration of beer to be not only specifically about beer, but also to be about flavor and food. And this is one of the A+ must-buy beer books. If you're going to want to learn a little bit more about beer, you're going to have to buy this one, because it's just hugely important to understand food and beer pairing, and the way that he talks about beer and food is absolutely essential. So highly recommend it. It's probably pretty cheap on Amazon. So yeah, until next time, guys, cheers. Let me know if you'd like me to review a few more beer books out there. Until next time, cheers. Later.